4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, Zoinkers! It is Curtis Tucker back for the first episode of the brand new renamed podcast called Zoinkies. And this podcast tagline is going to be, I am the purveyor of groovy. So the Shaggy Duck podcast, the Shaggy Life podcast, that is all now going to be Zoinkies. So welcome to the show. Appreciate you guys checking in. I guess you guys probably noticed the logo and some different stuff going on in the description of the podcast. Now, really not a whole lot is going to change right here in the beginning. It's still going to be kind of the same type of episodes, the same type of content, but it's just going to be called Zoinkies. That's going to be the brand that I'm going to be concentrating on a whole bunch of different areas. And so I'll get into kind of telling you guys what's going on in this episode. So basically, this episode is just kind of letting you know what the heck Zoinkies is now as opposed to before, and why and all that. So hope you guys like the logo. Let me know. You guys can hit me up at shags@shaggyduck.com or curtis@curtistucker.com. And if you guys are just listening to the podcast, don't forget you can go to the Curtis Tucker YouTube channel, and I'll be waving at you there. And if you are watching on YouTube, I appreciate you guys checking in there. And you can also listen on your favorite podcasting app if you guys are out driving or mowing the lawn or out on the trail. So don't forget that you can just listen to it there as well. So let me know what you think about the logo. I tried to include kind of definitely a 70s font. And if you're not watching on, even if you're watching on YouTube, you can't see, I guess. So if you're listening on the podcast, you should see the logo on, for the podcast picture. If you go to my blog, curtistucker.com, where there's kind of a written version of this podcast episode, you'll see the logo there. Or if you go to zoinkies.com, the old Arter Rooney website has the logo, and my Shags Facebook page, which will be eventually called Zoinkies rather than Shags, that's also got the logo. So check it out. It's got some fun 70s colors to it. It's got a definite 70s vibe, but you guys take a look at it and let me know what you think. So that is the new Zoinkies logo. And so basically, I have done a podcast episode and a blog post earlier about inventing the word Zoinkies. And so you guys, if you want more detail on that, just go to the blog and check that out. But just real quick, I came up with the word Zoinkies in the early 2000s. That's when I was building 100 websites to make money with Google AdSense and affiliate marketing and stuff like that. So I was needing to get really creative. I wanted some really fun websites and some fun brand names and company names. So I was thinking of different names. Plus, when I would think of a name, I needed the .com to be available. If the .com wasn't available, then I didn't use the name. So because .coms were going really quick, you had to be really creative to come up with some unique names. And so being a Scooby-Doo fan, during in the show Scooby-Doo, they say Zoinks and Jinkies a lot. And so one day, late 90s or early 2000s, I came up with the word Zoinkies. And then I discovered that on January 22nd of 2003 is when I bought the domain name for Zoinkies. So if you know me, you know that I like the number 2, 22, and 20, but especially 22 because it's got two twos. And the fact that I found out that I'd bought it on the 22nd was just kind of one of those signs that, oh yeah, this is probably the domain name or the brand name that I probably need to be using. So So basically, when I first started using it, it was kind of meant to be an exclamation of, oh, wow, I've discovered something cool. And so what Zoinkies.com was in the beginning was a online directory, and it had categories that had cartoons and funny sayings and 70s stuff, and it was just kind of a limited directory that had a lot of fun categories, because Google was not the giant monster then as it was today, and so a lot of people were we were creating directories, and we could get the directories ranked in Google, but still have people, getting their information from our directory, rather than, Google having all that stuff at the beginning like they do now. And so basically I could get all the pages on Zoinkies to rank fairly well. And, it was just another way of making advertising dollars. So that's where Zoinkies came from. Then, of course, when that side of my business, after 10 years, collapsed in 2012, I basically abandoned pretty much all of those 100 websites, and they sat dormant for several years. I didn't shut them down, but I didn't update them, and so nothing was going on with them. And then at some point, I don't remember when, I basically shut all that hosting off, and so all those old websites were no longer online, but I still own the domain names. Over the past few decades, I've sold off several of the domain names, but I've still held on to quite a few of the domain names, and Zoinkies is one of the domain names that I have hung on to. So now I am using it. But let's see. So basically, at the kind of the middle or the end of last year in 2024, I started thinking, I kind of do things in 10-year periods, and I think I'm beyond 10 years with all the stuff that I've been doing. So I'm kind of, looking at, what can I do next? What would be fun? What could be my next brand, my next direction? Where can I pivot? And so, I was thinking of doing a t-shirt store again, and combine that with this podcast, and combine that with going on adventures, and just combining a whole bunch of stuff into one brand. But, I've got so many different brands. I've got Shaggy Duck and Curtis Tucker and Shags and all that. And so I thought, well, let me open up a online t-shirt shop again. And then if I can get that really going, eventually it would be cool to one day have a real retail store somewhere. And so that was kind of the intent there. And so I opened up a Shopify store, and what's funny is the first name. So I wanted it to have a 70s vibe, because I'm going to do more 70s style designs and sayings, and I wanted it to be kind of outdoorsy and fun and funky and all that. And so the first name that I thought of for the new t-shirt shop was Zoinkies. So I was going to call it Zoinkies. I had the available name, I had the domain name, and I needed a name that kind of sounded 70s-ish. But at that point, I was really thinking about that I was going to be doing a lot of paintings and adding a lot of art to the website rather than just t-shirts. So I got online and I started looking through websites that had 70s slang phrases and words and stuff. And I decided, well, I'm going to go through all these lists, and if there's a word or a phrase that jumps out at me, then I'll think about using that. So one of these websites had a whole bunch of names, and I was going through, and I ran across the phrase cool-a-rooney. And I thought, oh, wow, I kind of remember people saying cool-a-rooney, back, almost seems like they might have said it in the 50s too, but it was listed as one of the 70s terms. And so I thought, well, cool-a-rooney might be kind of a fun name. And then I thought, well, but if I'm going to be doing art, I could customize the name a little more for myself. And so that's when I changed cool-a-rooney to art-a-rooney. And so came up with a fun kind of mid-century modern retro fun logo, cartoony logo. fun font, and worked on Art Aruni, and then opened up the Shopify website under Art Aruni. And so got that going, started selling t-shirts, still doing this podcast. So 2025 comes along and I'm like, yeah, not super happy with Art Aruni. Doesn't seem to be catching on. I don't know. There was just something about it that I couldn't put my finger on. And so one day I got this weird idea to get on Chat GPT and type in, what do you think about the brand names Art Aruni versus Zoinkies? And so I typed that in, and me and Chat GPT went down a long, long road where we kind of kept going back and forth and back and forth. And it loved the brand name Zoinkies. I mean, it was spitting out everything that Zoinkies could be. And it kind of talked about how for certain things, Art Aruni might be good, but it felt like it would make people think that it was more of an art related business or store, kind of artsy craftsy. And that, I think that's kind of what was bothering me is, and I haven't put any art on the website or in the store yet. It's all just t-shirts. And so I thought, yeah, the name leans too heavily towards art, but the products don't lean towards art. And then I've also been thinking about changing the name of this podcast. It used to be A Shaggy Duck Life, and then I shortened it to A Shaggy Life. And I was going to try to make kind of a lifestyle brand out of Shaggy Life. But it just seems like I got too much going on, too many names, too many brands, too many logos, too much stuff. And so I thought, well, Zoinkies might be the fun name for a podcast. And then Zoinkies might be, a fun name for an online store. Even opening up a retail store, like where I sold t-shirts or had an art gallery or sold vinyl records and vintage things. Even a store, like a real store, would be fun with the name Zoinkies. And so I thought, I could put a whole bunch of stuff under the brand name of Zoinkies. So I've basically decided to change a bunch of stuff to Zoinkies. And so that is kind of what I'm doing. And so real quick, the brands that I'm going to be erasing and the names that I probably won't be using, Art Aruni's going to go away. Shaggy Life will go away. Bottle Caps Mercantile will go away. And then Shags, as far as branding, will go away. Like the Shags Facebook page will turn into Zoinkies, but I'm still going to use the, AKA Curtis Tucker, AKA Shags name, just kind of because the Shags fits with the whole vibe of the 70s and Zoinkies and all that. So nickname Shags is not going away. I'm just not going to use it as the brand. And so, and then Bottle Caps Mercantile was the retail store that we had. So if we were to open up another retail store, like I say, that would be called Zoinkies rather than Bottle Caps Mercantile. So I'm getting a whole bunch of different names and brands, and I'm getting to put those under one umbrella, which I don't know, I just really like the name Zoinkies, and I think it could be a nationwide brand, just like Apple and Google, and just the single word. And then the tagline with it is purveyor of groovy, and so that's just open to everything. That could just be everything. So so here is some stuff that I have come up with. The definition of Zoinkies, which is kind of an adjective. I hardly say that word. It is a state of joyful surprise, nostalgia, and fun, inspired by playful exclamations of the 70s, embodying carefree vibes and creativity. So that's kind of the definition of my version of the word Zoinkies, which I made up, so I get to define it. My brand story for Zoinkies is it's a brand that celebrates individuality, humor, and retro flair. It's where bold designs, funky colors, and carefree vibes meet a groovy lifestyle. So I want Zoinkies to be not just a logo on a t-shirt and not just a online t-shirt shop and not just a name of a podcast. I want it to be a vibe and a lifestyle. And, I think I can, with all those different things, I can build an entire kind of vibe lifestyle around the name. People that like that, number one, are in love with the 70s, but then also like to get outdoors and like to be active and are thinking about longevity, because most of us that love the 70s are probably over age 50 and over age 60. So I feel like I get to combine a whole bunch of stuff, and then that helps me. This is going to help me concentrate on just one thing. I get to build the Zoinkies brand. Well, one day I might be doing it with t-shirts, and the next day I might be doing it with this podcast, but it's all going towards the same brand, and I'm not having to spend time, so much time concentrating on different brands. So I think it's just going to really, really help me out. So, let's see. But some things that will not go away is, so my studio is still called Shaggy Duck Studio. That's kind of that's my corporate name. That's what I put on my taxes. That's when people make payments to me. It goes to Shaggy Duck Studio. So Shaggy Duck Studio is and always will be the name of the studio. And then I've still got a lot of accounts under Curtis Tucker or The Curtis Tucker. Those are going to stay around because those are going to be a little bit more of personal type stuff, but then also behind the scenes of Zoinkies. So I'll even tie in Zoinkies to those, but it'll be more of, behind the scenes of Zoinkies with Curtis Tucker. So, but Curtis Tucker's not going away. Shaggy Duck Studio's not going away. Those two are staying. So, and then, under Shaggy Duck Studio, there's Zoinkies, but then there's Enid Buzz, and then there's Buzzhead Media, which under that is the 70s Buzz Podcast and Buzzhead Radio. And so, I've got all these. So, but Shaggy Duck Studio is the big umbrella that everything is under. Let's see what other stuff here. Zoinkies, purveyor of groovy, is a brand that celebrates the bold, the funky, and the timeless cool. It will be a world of retro revival, playful design, and carefree living. T-shirt designs and podcast episodes will dive into the vibrant culture of the 70s and beyond, exploring how its music, fashion, and art continue to inspire modern trends. Zoinkies will find and create groovy lifestyle designs, tips, stories, and adventures. So I'm still going to go on adventures, and that'll be kind of as a Generation Jones or so. And that, I guess I ought to add that to this. So here are, here's another kind of another description of Zoinkies. Zoinkies will discover creations from artists, entrepreneurs, and everyday Zoinkers who share their love for living boldly. Followers known as Zoinkers will find design inspiration, blasts from the past, and just good laughs. This will improve their vibe. And then here are some of the main topics that through t-shirts, podcast, website, Facebook page, these are some of the topics that I will be covering under Zoinkies. Nostalgic dives into 70s music, movies, and culture. Retro-inspired fashion, sayings, decor, and design. Stories of creativity, entrepreneurship, and finding your groove. And so that kind of, that way, because I'm still doing entrepreneurial stuff, even though it might not just be for Zoinkies. And so I can still continue that. Life over 50, longevity and staying young. And so, and that also encompasses life over 60, but I figure I'm going to call it life over 50, because then I get an extra 10 years worth of people in there, even though I'm over 60. But I'm going to talk about ways of staying young and being vibrant over 50 years old. And then another topic, subject matter, will be a day in the life of Shags, aka Curtis Tucker, plus the big adventures that I go on. And then there'll also be topics of pop art with groovy and colorful art. And then so when I start painting, that's where I'll start incorporating, the art. And so like if I were to open up an art gallery, it would be Zoinkies. I'm not going to sign, I'm not going to be my art name, and I'm not going to sign my painting Zoinkies. I think I'm going to go with Shags on that. So that's another place where I'll be using the name Shags. So basically, I think that kind of covers everything going on. So what I really need from anybody that happens to follow me and kind of likes what's going on, let me know what you think. We're going from, and so there's always going to be buzzheads. There still are shagheads, but now there's also going to be Zoinkers. And so the Zoinkers are the people that fit into the Zoinkies lifestyle. And so let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about the logo. I do not have any of the Zoinkies t-shirt designs on the website yet, but those will be coming if you like the design. There will also be stickers for your car and just around the house. So let me know what and I need your feedback, because everything's still early enough that I can make changes. So let me know what you think about the logo, the colors, the design. Let me know what you think about the idea of the name with doing all the stuff. And I just need everybody's feedback so I can continue on. But basically, that's going to be my goal, is to eventually replace most of what I'm doing now with doing Zoinkies, and then that Zoinkies hopefully will be my retirement plan. And so another thing with Zoinkies is in the logo, I have added the word brand. So it is Zoinkies brand, and I did that just so people would know that it's not just a word, that it is a brand. But then also in the past, I have had the Zoinkies vanity name for a lot of the social media, but because I quit using it, I let some of those names go, or I changed them to new things that I was doing. And for some reason on a lot of the social media, once you leave a username and switch it to a new one, even though the old one is now free, they lock it up and they won't let you use it. Now, sometimes you can, but a lot of the times you can't. So I think like Zoinkies on Facebook, I still, I had control of it, but because I switched it to something else, I don't think anybody's using it, but I can't get to it. And I think the same possibly with Twitter. And so basically, if you're looking for the Zoinkies brand on social media, it's probably going to be under the vanity URL of Zoinkies brand rather than just the word Zoinkies. But you can go to zoinkies.com and not have to add the word brand, which I might buy the domain zoinkiesbrand.com and then have it forward just in case. But so you can either find Zoinkies stuff either under Zoinkies or Zoinkies brand. And and the one thing is, when I invented the word, which was kind of cool, I mean, again, this was 2003, I went to Google, and, even at that time, Google was still indexing a lot of stuff in the world. But if you typed in, so I came up with a couple words. I came up with Zoinkies and Zoinkology. Both of those, I didn't buy the domain Zoinkology. It was a word. It was actually a hashtag that I used before hashtags were a thing. I didn't really know about hashtags. I just knew that if I put the word Zoinkology at the bottom of the homepage of all of my websites, if I would go to Google and type in the word Zoinkology, all of my websites would pop up with link, in the rankings, and no other websites would pop up because there was no other website on the internet with the word Zoinkology on it. So, I had I don't, at that time, I don't know if I had 100 yet, but so let's say I had 50 websites. I could put the word Zoinkology real little at the bottom of the homepage of all 50 websites. And then when I would go to Google and type in Zoinkology, all 50 websites would pop up on Google, and then I could just click on them and make sure they were all online and everything was good. And that was just my way of being able to check my websites really quick. And so I also did searches for Zoinkies and because I wasn't using Zoinkies on all those websites, I was only using Zoinkies on Zoinkies.com. Zoinkies was the only website that would come up. There was, Zoinkies wasn't being used anywhere. Nobody, I literally invented the word. Now, fast forward 22 years, and now other people have used the word Zoinkies, like for like a Spotify account or things like that. And it's not used very much, but there are people that have used the word Zoinkies for little things here and there. But if you go back, nobody has used the word Zoinkies before I did in 2003. So I do have a little trademark logo or thing on the name. I haven't trademarked it, which would give me the copyright to put on there, or the registration. I don't have the R with the circle because I haven't registered it, but I have the TM on there because it is trademarked and I don't want anybody else to use the name. And so, anyway, that is the story of Zoinkies. That is the new brand. I hope you guys like it. Being a logo designer, it doesn't seem like I'm ever happy with logos that I create. And this one I have been working on for a very long time. I actually hand drew on the computer all of the wavy lines in the sun. I did so many variations and so many colors of this logo, and even changed, some of the font, and jumbled it up. So it's all handcrafted, custom design. It's not something you can just type in with a font and replicate. I think even the exclamation point isn't the exclamation point that goes with that font. I just took one of my I's, the letter I in the word Zoinkies, and flipped it upside down, and that's the exclamation point in the logo. So there's a whole bunch of, I usually try to customize logos, especially if they're just kind of a font that anybody else could use. I try to make something in them that nobody, could replicate unless they did it on purpose. So that's kind of the way Zoink is. I think I did some stuff to the letter Z as well to make it kind of fit better. But anyway, again, let me know what you think. Give me feedback. Curtis at curtistucker.com, Shags at shaggyduck.com. The store, I will start filling up the store with a lot of new 70s designs and 70s sayings. So that will be going there. I think you can still, if you type in Arta Rooney for a while, I'm still going to have that forward to Zoinkies until, eventually people forget about that. Now, I'm probably not going to abandon the Arta Rooney logo. I will keep the domain name and the logo, and who knows if I could ever use that later on. I'm sure I can come up with something and use it later down the line. But anyway, so and I think my point on the logo was I'm actually happy with this logo. So every day when I come in to my studio, I open up the file and I look at it, and I never feel like, okay, it's so. I need to change something. I think I finally got it to the point where I don't feel like it needs any changes. And I've got several variations of it where, You know, so there's some variations where it doesn't have the sun and the wavy rays above it. It's just the word Zoinkies and doesn't have the tagline under it. So I may have some bumper stickers with that and some designs like that on the t-shirts as well. So I'm going to cut this off right here at 30 minutes, and I appreciate you guys checking in. We'll talk to you soon. Love you. See ya.